Well, Shimano spat the dummy big time. And what's happened is they basically revoked the indications of the Di2 and all of the Shimano compatibility information that integrates with their group sets from Hammerhead because SRAM has bought Hammerhead. So let's roll that intro and let's have a bit of a discussion. What does this mean for us consumers and why has Shimano done this? So the story is that Shimano have intellectual property. So when you design something or spend money on something and you have it inside your company, that's called intellectual property. And what that means is you own that. And anyone that's worked for you has worked on it under your employment. They don't own it. The company owns it. And Shimano have never made it a open information to connect to the group set by AMP Plus and share that information. People have had to apply for licenses and then they get the license, and then those companies that are not Shimano are allowed to use that information on their headsets or whatever piece of equipment integrates with that device, and then that information can be used. Now, this hasn't been a problem in the bicycle industry. Most of the companies have been pretty good about sharing information. We have a number of computers on the market, and Shimano has been good enough to share that with all of these companies because it enhances their products, and these bicycle computers can then display all of these different bits of information like battery low, which gear you're in, and so forth. But what happened recently is the SRAM Corporation, which owns quite a number of bits of companies now in the bicycle industry, bought out Hammerhead. And what's happened is Shimano like spit the dummy. They didn't like this very much. So it's only been a few weeks since that was announced, and Shimano has revoked their license to Hammerhead. So now Hammerhead have to remove that from their devices, and that's going to happen on the next software upgrade. So it's a bit disappointing. So how does this really integrate with the customers? And even though Shimano is not too happy about SRAM buying Hammerhead, so now they've cut off the supply or the connectivity to their group sets. What does that mean for us customers? So what that basically means for us customers, if we had just bought, let's just say we just bought a brand new 12-speed Dura Shimano group set, and we built up a new bike, and we've had this group set built up onto a nice new frame, which is an X brand frame, whichever one we really like and we purchased. And we like the idea of this new Hammerhead bike computer because we like the mapping and so forth on it, and we think it's a really good product and we want to support Hammerhead. So we bought a Hammerhead cycle computer, and we're riding along and everything's hunky-dory and everything works as advertised. Now, what's happened is as a Shimano purchaser, and these Dura group sets are, I think they're around about $5,000 US, $4,000 or $5,000 US. That's not the whole bike, that's just a group set, right? We spent this money, we bought a high-end bicycle computer, which is a Hammerhead bicycle computer. Now, all of a sudden, Shimano has pulled the rug out and goes, whoops, we don't like SRAM buying Hammerhead, and they want to punish SRAM or limit SRAM's accessibility because they see them as a number one competitor. Then what it's doing is me as a customer who bought a Dura group set now have less functionality. So what they're doing is not only they're punishing SRAM, they're punishing the users who have bought their Shimano group sets in the belief that all of these computers are going to support the integration or the communication to the Shimano group set. So they're going to be able to get battery low, and they're going to be able to get all of the functionality, so they can push their buttons on top and go through all the screens, and they can see when the battery's low, and they can see which gear they're in on their cycle computer, which is really nice functionality when you're spending such huge money, probably about a $15,000 US bike that you've got, and you've kitted it out with all the brand new gear. and the high-end stuff. So what Shimano are doing here is, yeah, they've spat the dummy over SRAM buying it, and they must, the marketing department must have gone into like a flat spin when they heard this information. They go, well, we can't have this. We can't have this. We got to stop SRAM using our intellectual property. Ka-chunk. So they chopped off. But what they've done in the process of doing that, they've heard all of their customers that have actually bought a Hammerhead computer now cannot integrate with any of their Shimano group sets, be it Ultegra, Dura-Ace, or any of the ones in the past, because the intellectual protocol has not been licensed to Hammerhead. Now, Hammerhead have explained that they're going to have continued talks with Shimano, which I would see is a child company of SRAM, and they're probably going to discuss something with Shimano if they can get that functionality back. So hopefully they can come to some agreement, maybe for a small fee, but it's really, I think it's really pretty miserable, because in the bicycle industry, as consumers, we've kind of accepted that this information is being shared. It's the same like with the Varia radar. All of the headsets can connect to it, even though Garmin designed it, but they've allowed all of the other cyclecomputers to do it. So you can still buy that device, that Varia radar, and you can use it for whatever cyclecomputer you like. You're not locked into buying a Garmin headset. And it's the same with these group sets. You know, all of these different cyclecomputers have been using the information and been able to connect to Shimano. Now what Shimano have done, very, very specifically, have isolated Hammerhead because it's a child company of SRAM and cut them off, but only allowing it to other companies, which kind of begs the question, are they going to continue this and maybe lock out other companies that may be working closely with SRAM, or they may all of a sudden, marketing department might take a freak out and they don't like Garmin or some other product, and then they revoke the license. But what's really strange here is that Shimano don't actually have a cyclecomputer. So they're offering this information that can be viewed on cyclecomputers, but they actually don't have a cyclecomputer. So it's not like you can go and buy Shimano group set, Shimano cyclecomputer, and it all integrates. Their communication specifically designed to work with other companies' products. But now they're limiting specific companies from not accessing that information. So really, even though legally Shimano have every right to do this because it's their intellectual property, I think it's like, it's a bit, you know, not really being realistic in the bicycle industry. Not realistic, the word I'm looking for, it's being a bit mean-spirited. That's probably the word I'm looking for, because they just want to try and cripple SRAM because that's their number one competitor. Well, anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it. And leave your comments down below. What do you think about this? I think it puts a bit of a bad taste in people's mouths, especially if they're already Shimano owners and they have some high-end group sets, and they were using the Hammerhead with the Shimano group set. Now they're going to have to go, oh, crap, you know, if I want this interface, I'm going to have to go out and buy a different brand of cyclecomputer, which then they have to put their hands in their pocket. And it may actually make them buy a different group set next time they buy a bike. Okay, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it, and I'll see you next vid. Cheers.